Today, we are joined by Thomas Gigant, Head of Product at Lingoda and previously with Blinkist, Go1 and Adevinta. Someone who's been in the trenches of product leadership across startups and scale-ups. We talk about what it really takes to unlock momentum in complex organizations, how to rebuild product structures that actually work, and why great teams need courageous, not arrogant, product leaders. You will hear why empowering a team doesn't mean disappearing, what AI can and can't do in product work, and how simplification and strategy go hand in hand. So, if you've ever felt stuck in complexity, or you're scaling and wondering what's next, this conversation is for you. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Product and Cake. Today, as usual, in the virtual recording studio with me is Paul. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great. It's summer outside, very close to the weekend. And again, we have an awesome guest here in our sun-flooded studio.
Hey, very happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Before we do the official introduction, let us start with a check-in question to dive into that podcast episode. And Thomas, I want to know from you, and afterwards from you, Goncha, if you could safely eat any inedible object, what would it be?
Wow, I know why you were excited about this question. An edible object. Good question. And I would probably have to explain why after that, I guess. So I would say, I don't know, some kind of very old painting, like with weird oil that they used at some point in the 18th or 17th century just to try to understand what it is. Probably it would be uneatable and probably I will die from it, but I will still try it. I mean, the second condition would be if I can eat it and I'm not dying from it, right? You assume that.
You can safely eat it. Really, really nice answer.
So what I really think tastes in a way that is satisfying to me is clay. Especially the days that it rains a little bit and you can smell the clay a little bit. I think that's going to be very satisfying. Yeah. I think that's interesting. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I had a little bit time to think about it, and I really love that question. I mean, I am an absurd check-in questions, but I think this one really tops all of them, and it is such a strange brain teaser to think about it. I came to the conclusion I would like to eat my smartphone because I have it in my hand all the time, and I think it just may be crispy. So let's see how the taste of that one is.
Do we try it now?
No, this is just for the paid subscribers. Join our paid channel if you want to see how we eat these kind of things. Because we want to dive now into your experience, Thomas, because you are not only currently the head of product at Lingoda, you have also a super, super impressive list of job positions in your LinkedIn. You were product director at Go1, product director at Blinkist, product leadership at Adevinta. So a lot of high-stake product roles, and we are super curious to hear your perspective, obviously, on AI, on how you went into that role, and what is your current perspective on the job market and the product landscape.
Okay, so first small introduction. I've been in product for the past 13 years, like by accident. It's a complete accident, actually. After my master in France, I decided to come back to Germany just for a couple of days. It ended up being, it's almost 14 years now. And I worked for a first startup, and the CEO of this startup was sitting next to me. And at some point, it told me I was in entrepreneurship and helping for building this startup. And he was like, yeah, I see you as a product manager. And I remember my answer because I watched him and said, like, what is that? So that's the beginning. And from that, I ended up really loving it because it asks for architectural knowledge, connecting things together, connecting a lot of things together, like being good or understanding design, tech, business. And it kept going. So from one company to the other, I realized that I really love building things, but also going very fast, structuring things. I ended up doing an MBA. After an MBA, I thought, why not going for consulting like many MBAs? But it was in business building and product management again. And after that, again, going back to product management. Something that happened in the meantime is a PhD in human resources. That was a bit like of a surprising for a lot of people, but I ended up teaching as well in HR and always combining like how to build team, how to build products with how to actually like motivate people, hire people, motivate people, like build the right structure for people. So I'm mixing those two dimensions of product management and human resources. But at the end of the day, product management is so hybrid, it's so between different things that you always find something new with product. And it's always new with different companies and different projects.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think that's a very interesting career. I really love that it started with a suggestion from someone else that you should be a product manager. And it's interesting. Sometimes people externally see our talents. And I want to know for the people who also don't know you, how would you explain your current job to them?
Okay, that's a good question and always a complex question for a product manager. What I realized I'm good at and I really enjoy is either starting a product from scratch or getting in a situation where a lot happen in a product or in a company. And it's the step where you need to restructure things, improve things so you get in velocity again. And I really enjoy situations where it's very complex. So there is a lot of things happening. There is a personal aspect, there are team aspects, there are like strategy. There is a lot to build and to connect together. And what I like to say is that what I really enjoy is connecting all these and building the right structure, like this right structure for people to be able to give their best, actually, like build a product as good as possible. But I also want to create structures that work for people, but work for the product as well. It's not a question of overworking. It's a question of having the right structure so that people can deliver at the right pace and iterate and be excited about what they're building. Quite often in a company, we reach this point where things get a bit slower, the structure is complex, and I like solving that and proving and showing to people, you can get excited about what you're building again. And it could be simpler. You can be more empowered in building something, and unlocking those situations is something that I really like to do. And I usually do in the different companies where I was in the past. And it's oftentimes why I hired. Lingoda is doing great, but they also, you see the potential, the fact that they can go even bigger. And I see that. And when I get that, I try to get the people, get the structure and unlock for the structure for the next stage.
Yeah, I think especially your combination from HR and product is super interesting, especially in the scaling approach. Can you quantify a little bit Lingoda? How many people are working there and how many people are working in your team at the moment?
Hard to quantify. It depends how we see it, because we have two parts of our business. We have a B2C and B2B business. The B2C business is what you see from Lingoda, so those classes, like this customer-facing part of the product. The bigger part of the product is the B2B product. So we have also a specific setup. We are more than 400 people around Germany and around the world. We are fully remote. So there are some people who are in Berlin, and we have this new office in the center of Berlin in the Bergman Kiez, which just opened a couple of weeks ago, actually. And a lot of our employees, a lot of people working in my teams are around like Germany and around Europe, and some of them as well in other countries. So I would say in Berlin, we are a bit more than 100 people, but the setup is remote. It's hard to quantify because what we consider as well as not part of the core organization, but as very important stakeholders and people contributing to the success of the company are all the teachers, because we are a platform offering classes, but we believe, and we truly believe, that a class is a teacher with students, private class or a group class, and around it, technology is actually helping this class, like actually to run this class or actually to have practices after those classes. So we are running 750,000 classes per year. So it asks for a lot of teachers in different languages, and it's not part, of course, they're not part of the core organizations, or they are freelancers and they are working with us, but they're also extremely important for the success of the company, I would say.
Yeah, that is interesting and really not that obvious from the website.
We have to make that more obvious. That's our work actually as well. Like really, really showing this value proposition that our users truly enjoy. As I said, that's the B2C part. The B2B is even more exciting because it's about helping nurses, like midwives, doctors to go to another country. And in our case, it would be like nurses from other countries who want to enter the German market. And we're taking care of the full path and following them so that they can have the right level of language skills, like a skill matching what is needed on the German market, for instance, in order to pass all their exams and be on the German market at the moment. This is another business which is also less visible on the B2C side, but which is a bigger part actually of our business, which is truly exciting because it's about bringing people to Germany or to another market and helping people to achieve their goal and reach like their career goal as well.
In your role as head of product, is that spanning the B2B and the B2C part of the product, or is there another head of product B2B, or how do you separate here?
I'm mostly taking care of the B2C part at the moment, and we're recruiting for a head of product B2B. But what we see is that the more we'll move forward, the more those two parts will be like a conversion together, because we think in our strategy is about the global talent, and a global talent is a global talent who is in B2C, someone who wants to learn a language to actually achieve their goals. And they have the serious learner, that's who we are targeting. And the same global talent is actually a global talent from B2B. So a nurse which would be in another country and want to enter another country, which would be at the moment of focus Germany, but that could be any other country in the future.
Okay. Let us follow our script here, Gonche. I will keep my AI question to the proper section.
So going back a little bit to your role, if your role disappeared tomorrow, not you as a person, but if the company decided suddenly this role, we want to remove it, what would break first?
It's a question with multiple answers, and it depends on the setup. In an ideal setup where the team is really stable and where I would do my job totally, and I would be at the stage where I'm very confident about what I build and the setup I build, I would say nothing will break soon, because I love to say that I build setup where I'm not needed at some point, where the team can work by itself and it's just go. And then the question is just, should we hire someone else? Should we think about the strategy? So it would take some time probably. And that's what I want to be on. That's what I really enjoy to build, is like getting to this level of stability and things running so that I don't even need to join a meeting. I know it's happening well. And I would be joining, for instance, a product meeting if someone say, hey, by the way, like we have a problem now. And my role will be more looking at the strategy and how do we grow as an organization? How do we grow as a product organization and strategically? So I build this setup so that I can focus on this part of the work. Actually, at the moment, it would be, I'm at this stage of I'm rebuilding and scaling a team. So many things would probably break. Many small things would break at first. And we're not at this stage where things are really, really stable on the B2C, to be completely honest with you. But we're getting really nice people on board. I'm showing them like this process that I've seen working in other companies. And I see these adoptions step by step at the moment, which I truly love. Is like when people don't want to adopt something and you're like, okay, do it. And if it fails, like trash me in front of the board. I have no problem with that. But let's start it first. And you see the thing, those processes working. And I start to see it with this new team. And I love what I want to say is that I want to reach this point where, to answer your question, I would say, nothing very quickly. And at some point, what would fail, probably the long-term vision and strategic vision, that won't be there. But I hope that among those people, or there among the members of this team, there will be some people who will be like, okay, I want to look into that. And they would take a look into that. So that won't break.
So company maybe have a lot of strong wishes and assumptions what can have if they finally hire the right head of product and that is magically fixing all the issues. What would you say is a typical misconception people have about what you do?
It's probably the fact that very interesting question, by the way. I think it's the fact that things can go extremely quickly, while in some situations just being very, let's say, like a leader who is just empowering people. Because I think there is different way to lead. And what I like to summarize it to just say there's this approach which would be more top down sometimes on just saying, okay, people need direction and need the structure. And when they have it, then you can get out of the situation. And it's more like a leadership, like empowering moment. And there is many situations, or I don't necessarily think it's about Lingoda, but previous experiences where some companies just think you have to be completely one or the other. You have to be completely empowering and then it will work because you just have a kind of aura and things will run magically. And in other situations where you have to always be top down so that things works. And I think it depends on the people, it depends on the situations, and the goal of leader, in my opinion, is to understand the people that you're leading and understand like what do they need. Some people need more guidance at first. The end game is still like empowering, so they can just do the job to get the direction and just go. But you need to get to this point. And the misconception is being too on one side or the other side. I believe like that's why I take the time when I join a company to have one-on-ones, to have like a session about expectations toward each other. What can you expect from me? What I can expect from you? And we do that on both sides. I also take my mental notes and some notes on how people think. What do they need in terms of communications as well? Like all the details that I think are important for the different team members. And from that, I adjust my way to like, I don't know if it's managing or leading, but taking care of my team and growing the team. I know that some people need more information, more guidance. Some would say, I don't want to know about the politics because it's something that I cannot manage, this filter, but then I have these expectations straightforward, clear, and from that I can lead the team. And then we gain speed. But different approaches to the different people in this case.
Really interesting. And I can totally see that sometimes you need to balance this, and I fully agree with you. What are the biggest challenges you're tackling with these days? Is it more people related or is it more product and process related?
There is the people and process related, because for me, both of them work together. It's for me, when I join a company, is to understand who are the people who are actually performing less. I would be pretty upfront here. Sometimes you arrive in situations where it's not completely working, also due to the people. I think that there is different horizons to it. So you need to have great people so thing works. So great people will find a way to make things work at some point. So my focus is usually on fixing the small processes. And this was the case at Lingoda or in other companies before, like really quick wins. In the meantime, making sure that we have the right people at the right positions. Do we need to hire? Do we need to fire? Do we need to extend teams? Do we need to rethink those setups? So I have these very quickly thinking about these next horizon, because it takes time to hire people. It takes time to go through all those processes to onboard people. It takes months, right? We all know about that. And in the meantime, I can work on the process. What I hire and get the right team set up, I can build those processes in parallel. So ideally, when new people join or when the people start to, like, this setup is starting to get more and more stable, the processes in parallel are getting also more like up to date and working. And it asks for, this would be the challenges I'm facing at the moment and I faced before, is looking at where is the priority? Is that the people? Is that the processes? What is the horizons for people? If it's people, then I need to start right away because it's a longer horizon. And in the meantime, I also work on the processes. So I would say there are those two dimensions that are the biggest challenge. And on top of that, you have the processes, of course. You have the people, but you have the strategy. What are you looking at? What is your vision as, like, in terms of product? there's often this tendency of rushing and being like, yeah, we're delivering features, but what I like to have is something very tangible. This is the vision. This is how in terms of sentence, as a user, I'm joining this product for each pillar of these organizations. Below that, you have the processes and you have the people driving it. And it's a lot of work upfront in an organization to get everything. And then from that, building that. But it's the moment you get that right, things just move and people get motivated as well. They see things changing very quickly. They see that we're unlocking situation and then it works. It's not magical. It's not magical work. It takes time. It's a lot of energy. It's weekends working on strategy on the side. But I shouldn't say that, but it's a reality as well of the work, right? And I truly enjoy it because the moment you see people's eyes on these very tangible strategies or like pillars and being like, oh, that's what I do. And that's how it could look like. And which team? Oh, that means now we have those metrics. We can discuss those metrics. Like, can we go there? And like, actually, yes, that's what we expect from you. And they see actually the opportunities and that they missed in the meantime because probably things got more and more narrowed and stressful. And then they're like, okay, we can go there. And this success could look like that. And I love this moment. So people, process, strategy. And then when you have that right, it works. Seems simple, right? Just
super simple. Why did so many people struggle with it?
I don't know. It's just, yeah, well.
No, but I really like what you said. That was great. People will find a way to make it work. I think that is really something you could print and put next to your screen because it is so easy as soon as a few people try to work together and maybe even more complicated in a remote setup to lose the focus and lose the pace and lose the motivation and just arguing or complaining about the processes or the colleagues or anything. And then you end up in a super frustrating situation. And it's never wise to wait for someone from the outside for or ask for a new head of product to fix all of that. But finding a way to make it work is especially today even more important than ever.
And I have some example of situations recently where you see the potential being unlocked. And that's my role, right? Of some people being like, I'm frustrated by that and it doesn't work. And actually I had a discussion like that yesterday with a couple of designers. And they're like, I already have a mock-up of this and I can solve it. It's like, yeah, okay. Is there the impact behind it? Yes. Like, we can do it. I mean, we have capacity there. It's like, really? And that's my job actually to unlock that and realize that they can go in this direction. And it can be simple sometimes. And sometimes it's a bit more complex than people thought as well. That's understanding to how.
And it is also becoming even more complex because we have now, all of us have now the endless possibilities of AI colleagues and agents and prompts and all the stuff that is changing and that are also promise me to learn any language or basically anything, whatever I want. I just need to throw it into Google Notebook and they will create a podcast for me. And then I'm super proficient and I can throw in a English dictionary and then I get the perfect learning course out of it. How do you look at that personally, but maybe also in the company context? And where's your differentiation maybe or your future perspective?
First of all, we see as our teachers as the core of the experience, and AI is not our enemy. AI is, of course, we're looking at what the evolutions of AI and what it can bring. But what we see is that it's an opportunity to scale like the content, practices, and everything we offer to our students. So we have a curriculum. The core of our business is having teachers, but also having a curriculum behind it that we're following. It could help us scale the curriculum, for instance. But everything that we build AI related is checked by humans. Because at the end of the day, it's AI, it's making mistakes. It's also a lot of context to understand. And the language is not just like input-output situations. There is a lot of context around it. There is a lot of cultural aspects around it. And of course, it's getting better there. But what we believe is that still you have a connection with the teacher. We can, thanks to AI, scale the content, scale practices, but still our digital education team is behind, checking if everything is correct and adding to it. So what I like to say is like AI is our tool, and we have a toolbox and that can help us the same way as, as a PhD student in the past, you were going to the library and then you're going online to do your research. I mean, you're winning a lot of time. even in research, right? You can save a lot of time doing that's on pre-research thanks to AI. But at the end of the day, it's like what you add on top of it. And that's one dimension. And the other dimension is a language is not just an input-output situation. It's not just I speak well and it's done. If you're learning, I don't know, Contra and I, we know pretty well about that. When you're learning German and you're going to Germany, it's not only for just speaking good German, it's also to understand the culture, understand the skills, understand how people think, and so on. And a teacher can bring you that, something that an AI at the moment cannot, and not with this same level of granularity. So, yeah, it's helping us. And not only in terms of scaling contents, for instance, but also in terms of improving our processes. And as a product manager, I think it's also super important to use these technologies, right? I mean, writing a ticket is faster with an LLM these days, or some processes of making a mockup would be faster and is faster. And we need to use those technologies to add. And I'm asking the PMs to not being ashamed of doing it. It's there. It's a tool. Use it as a tool cleverly, but use it as a tool. And if you get the right toolbox, then you can scale your work. And then from that, you add on top of it. You add what your brain is good at on top of it.
Yeah, I see that point. And I also think that this personal connection between humans is super important, also for learning, and maybe also getting going somewhere and sitting in a class and see the people, how they talk and how they think and what they are doing. So at Lingoda, you are still bold and you are still convinced that people will need to learn languages and cultures in the future and travel globally. That is hopefully a good future vision. What would you say is an overrated versus an underrated way AI is used in product management?
In general, and it's not only for product management, but it's also in research or at school. I'm also teaching, and a lot of students are using AI. I'm actually asking my students to use AI. And they have a tendency to just put a prompt, and this is the situations, give me an outcome, like this, give me an output. And you have a presentations, and it's the same presentations for all the students. And that will be the same actually in product. That's the problem I have as a company, solve it. Yeah, well, it's pretty generic. First of all, in terms of prompt, you have to be more specific, but also what I tell the students is probably use AI to challenge you more than to create the output upfront. Maybe it will refine the output, but first use it as, okay, that's my thought. That's my train of thought. That's the thing. That's how I see it. That's the context. That's my solutions. Like, what did I miss? What are the things that I would add? What should I look like on top of this? And it will be the same in product, and it's the same in research. That challenge it to the maximum. And then after that, you work on it and you have a second round, third round with an AI or with an LLM. I would say the overrated version is just to say, I go on ChatGPT, I write a prompt, and this is the outcome, and it's great. Look, it's amazing. Yeah, of course, but it's very generic. Really using it on top of your brain, so to say. And that's where really you can do great things. And research, we've seen it. In the first year of ChatGPT, a lot of researchers went full into it. I have to say as well, I started to write with it, and then I remember writing something, and after a few days realizing, okay, I have to completely stop, scratch it, and start from scratch with the way I write it, and then use it to improve it or to challenge the paper. But at the end, it's me writing this paper. It's AI helping me to think, but not to write. It happens this way in research, and it's the same in product for any topics. I'm working on a strategic topic at the moment. I may like to aggregate data and challenge some points, but at the end, I'm the one writing it and using it and improving it with this tool.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think what you mentioned, that it shouldn't start creating and the writing, but rather to challenging. I think that's exactly both the underrated and the overrated aspects. So we've also had in one other episode, one of the guests mentioned that we give a 2 bullet point and expect a 3-page document from the AI, and it just adds fluff to it. It doesn't add any actual content.
And I can tell you what I'm grading the papers of my students' paper these days, it's pretty clear. I tell them, okay, you have the right to use it. Actually, it's a tool. I won't forbid it. You have the right. You actually should. You would be an idiot not to. But I love patterns. I recognize patterns, and I can tell you from which LLM a text comes from. So, and I will grade a lot of papers with the same guidance in the beginning. So I will see it. So what I will grade is what you offer on top of it, the way you think, and it will be pretty clear that it comes from you. And it's the same for any documents that you would see. So the moment it goes towards fluff, as you said, it's pretty clear. And the moment it goes towards fluff, it would be the same fluff for all the students. And I had this case for one paper I created recently. I'm like, those 5 papers are the same, more or less. It's the same ideas behind it. And I know that you just prompted and you just gave me this paper, and that would be a receipt, and you have to redo it because I want your brain. I want your way of thinking. I don't want an LLM. And that's the danger as well, because if you're just thinking this way, you're just letting the machines just thinking for you, everything gets towards the same outcome, and why having somebody then at the end of the day. So you're not going to a university just to prompt an LLM. You're going there to think. And thinking is more important these days, and it's getting more and more important. Like all people think, or they can manipulate and use those thoughts to combine them towards building ideas.
Yeah. And talking a little bit about university and learnings, what's one thing you wish you had learned earlier in your career?
Oh, God, that's an interesting question. That's an extremely interesting question. There are so many things. I would say being, generally speaking, more practical. In university in general, I mean, there are different ways to see that. But I would say university tries to be, or schools are trying to be too specific to a specific topic these days. We're teaching you to do marketing, and we're putting less and less emphasis towards everything around philosophy and everything. And I think that's the place where we need to spend much more energy these days and less into very specific skills, because those skills can be killed. But on top of that, even if we're teaching very specific skills, we're not teaching very practical skills. So what I would have loved to understand is basically how to create a company very pragmatically. Okay, tomorrow we create a company. I have to go to get probably in Germany a lawyer, a tax advisor, a notar, and that's all with all the papers and so on. Understanding that, which is super important for any jobs, actually, not necessarily if you just create a company, but any jobs and also your personal life. I would have loved to understand these aspects very early and not overspending time on it. There is another thing that I do with the students. Another thing that I would have loved to learn is politics in general in companies. By the way, very sensitive topics that you have in every company, more politics or less politics. That's something I would have loved to understand, that, okay, it's not just an input-output situation. You do a great job and something happens. There is people in this process, and people have their way to think. They have their agenda. They have their behaviors. And that's something you have to take into considerations. And I'm doing a small chapter in one of my classes these days for masters on this topic. And the students came to me afterwards, after this class, and told me that's the first time we hear about that. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to start a career in management. That's going to be a reality. So for me, it's practical skills, but also the reality of the job in terms of, behaviors, how people behave, and the politics around it.
Now I really want to join your classes too. I think it is so insightful and important to combine this theoretical and practical things, especially hearing it from a lecturer that brings all the experiences also to the table. So sounds very valuable. And this is also where we want to dive now deeper into with our famous yay nay game. I think Gonja prepared already some product dilemmas, and we would like to hear your perspective on it. So are you ready for that?
I don't know. I would pretend that I am, but I've heard those and they can be quite challenging. So let's go.
Yeah, they are. And maybe we need to set up a rule that it is forbidden to say it depends, because that answer is much too easy for every product person.
I did an MBA. That's what they teach us. It depends. That's the right answer. And in consulting as well. So no, don't take that away from me.
Yeah, I also think we should take the it depends away. So are you ready for the first one? A product manager's primary job is to say no to new ideas.
No. Nay. An absolute nay. And that's something quite interesting because a lot of new PMs are thinking that their power is the power to say no. And the power is to understand, it's take an idea, try to first understand this idea. And it's first a yay in terms of, okay, I have to understand what it's behind it. Maybe there is an impact. Maybe it's important for our customers and so on and so forth. And from that, there could be decisions on it's like a yay or a nay, or it's not the right moment. But it's first, yay, I give it a shot. I see what it is behind. If it's just someone coming to you and giving you an idea and you say no, 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 then you miss opportunities, a lot of opportunities. But your job is not to say yes to everything either. It's to get it, understand it, decorticate, cutting it, and then from that you can take the decision.
But I really want to put the point here that your job is also to enable everyone in your company to give you the ideas, right? If you always respond with no, 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 not possible, are you stupid? It's my job to come up with ideas. Then they, after 3 no's, nobody will come to you anymore.
Exactly.
And so,
and that's the danger when you're a PM and you're taking care of a team. I mean, for me, a product manager is a leader, and he's not even manager because you're not managing your technical team and so on. You're leading them, you're giving them a direction, and you should work with them together. I'm completely against PM's king, as I like to say. If there's a little king in the middle that just say yes, no for ideas, then you're killing your team. But you should be the one like understanding and making it work together on these ideas and deciding all together. And at the end of the day, if no one takes a decision, it's you actually who has to be there and say, that's where we go or not. But yeah, it's a nay.
I fully agree. All right, then next one. A product manager who doesn't understand P&L is failing at their job.
That's a yay. I would say that's
Tell us more.
That's a yay. Oh, seems so. Also a tendency for a lot of PMs to think that their job is disconnected from the result of the company. And they don't understand the metrics behind it, the financials behind it. Also, like you have investors, you have reality is on top of this P&L, which is also their market on top of it. And you have a lot of PM who just think, okay, that's my metric, which is engagement. I just look at engagement. But this engagement should be connected to, I don't know, retention, which is like revenue retentions. And then I understand the P&L behind it. I understand that the cost of what I'm doing and what it will bring. So you need to have this understanding. I know that some PM love to be into like modelizations. I love doing modelizations, for instance, and some would be like, okay, it's very the minimal level modelizations, but I won't do a complete like modelization of a company. And that's fair and that's fine, but there needs to be a good understanding of P&L. They won't fail at their job. Definitely, some people could do the job still, but I would say that's a prerequisite that I expect from my PMs. And it's dangerous not to have this understanding because you end up having teams with product managers that do a job and then they don't understand when they get to some levels why the board is not happy or why, like, but we invested this amount of millions in your projects. And but it's a great project, right? It's like, but what do you bring? And they don't have necessarily this connection to it. And you need to have it, I believe, as a PM. And it's also the initial definition of PM as a CEO of his own product. A CEO who doesn't understand the P&L is not a CEO or a very bad one.
Yeah, I agree. I have to mention this, that the product manager should not be the primary owner of revenue or P&L. That's not their metric to improve on, but they need to understand it.
Yeah. There are some setup where it could go in this direction if you really split the products.
If you have a financial product,
one PM, one group, it's really, exactly, it could be, but they are usually not the owner, but they have a good understanding on it and a good understanding of all their metrics connect to the P&L. That's
all right. Last but not least, it's better to launch a buggy product fast than wait for perfection.
It depends here. I really want to. It depends for this one. If I know that if I answer yay, some people won't be happy, and if I answer nay, from the same organization, my same PMs won't be happy here. So yay and nay, which is not. It depends. It's both. So in this case, it depends the criticality of the part of the product. So I would say, generally speaking, that could be buggy, but you have to understand the level of the bug and the impact you can have on your customers. And you shouldn't degrade the experience of your consumer to a point that you're not able to manage it, for instance. I would say then, yeah, that in most cases, I would say, yeah, it could be buggy, but that depends on the bugs, right?
Yeah.
And in some cases, you can say, okay, I can launch it and there would be some bugs, but I am able to handle them. And I know that I can handle also those customers. I can bring them there and also explain to the customers that this product would be buggy, but here is the value that I will add to your journey. And by the way, if you see a bug, that's the way you will report it. So it's also transforming something which is not necessarily positive into something which is positive for you. But they are part of products which are too critical. And you cannot allow yourself to be too buggy. And in this case, that would be nay.
Fully agree. I have nothing to add.
Go.
Yeah, that is a beautiful, beautiful question. I would maybe add only the thought of simplifying it. And like Mariano from Vercel said in one of the last episodes, you have to ship early, but that should not allow you to ship just buggy stuff, right? You still need to ship quality. And part of the quality is maybe to decide exactly what you explained, Thomas. Can we accept this, maybe this level of bugs, or accept that maybe in Firefox the product is not looking that good as in Chrome?
Yeah, and you mentioned also simplification. Oftentimes we're launching buggy things or as PM because we are trying to go for too complex product or too complex solutions to a problem. And you could go with something way more simpler, which is less buggy. And from that, you add on top of it. And it should be more iterative in oftentimes where you have to start. You start very small and then you scale. And that's something which is important for PMs to understand. You don't necessarily have to have the full-fledged idea. You can go step by step.
Yeah. So I can give the answer to my next question already by myself. So try to simplify it even more, because you are with your product all the time and you know everything of it, but everybody else don't. So you can really, how can you simplify it even more and still ship it and look how the users are using with it? That was my answer to the question I want to give you now. If you could give every product tech person one reminder for this week, what would it be? And you can't take my answer, please.
Give me some time here. One advice in my team or in general?
As you like.
As I like. So I cannot take the example of simplification because that's something I'm already telling my team quite often, like simplify. Just in terms of context, oftentimes when a company reaches multiple years, they are accumulating features. And what I think is that, okay, we have to be courageous enough. That could be that, courageous enough to clean what needs to be clean, simplify what needs to be simplified in order to build again. Being courageous as a PM, but not being courageous, reckless, or courageous, arrogant. Being courageous there are things that sometimes you have to do that will ask for much more work. Simplification of a product can be an example. Simplifying like years of work and taking the decision and the courage to say, okay, I know this thing is there forever, but it's probably not driving an impact, and I would simplify it. Ask for a lot of work and a lot of courage there. And that would be my advice. Being courageous. But courageous, here again, I will repeat, not reckless, not arrogant on I'm the little king deciding on that. There should be a rationale behind it. But being able to actually being courageous of taking those decisions is sometimes also taking you time or additional time, or you're losing time. You're thinking that if I simplify and I go towards these directions, then I don't know, I will lose 3 weeks. But sometimes losing 3 weeks make you win like months after that and unlocked a lot of opportunities. And this courage should be there for going there. Yeah.
All right. That's the...
Oh, I kind of stealed your answer though. Sorry.
It's not stealing. It's getting inspiration from it.
Iterating. It's perfect.
Iterating.
So we are at the end of our episode. Thank you so much, Thomas, for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you, having you on board.
Thank you.
And where can people find you?
So people can find me in Bergman Kids, apparently. So Paul already found me in the street at some point and saw me there. So they can find me on LinkedIn principally, and also they can find my website as well, which is Thomas Gigant, as the French would say, .com, or on LinkedIn.
Cool. We will all stalk you now. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. It was very great to have you. And looking forward to have a coffee in Bergman Kids with you very soon.
With pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.